Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a little special Transpicuous News Report. It is July 14th, 2017. And as usual, just one of those things, just something just crossed my path today that made me go, oh, given some of the other stuff I've been talking about recently, this is kind of interesting. So I'm going to show you what I want to talk about. Article in Zero Hedge came out July 13th, and it's entitled, Tech Billionaires Are Funding a Plan to Break the Human Race Out of the Matrix. So this isn't news. Certainly isn't new news. We discussed this back in October. When the first time this one sentence kind of came out. But I want to talk about it because you know me, I always focus on timing of things. Why is something coming out now? Is there a new piece in this article? Is there a new piece of data that's been hidden within the information for us to pick apart? Why now? So I went through the article, and the original article was actually posted on the Anti-Media website. Went through the article, and it was very, very interesting. And apparently we're going to have, shouldn't have clicked on the picture, ha, ha, ha. So they're talking about an opening in a secret doorway in Peru. And they're talking about how basically in 1998, a purported extraterrestrial contactee, Jerry Willis, claimed that the tall blonde humanoid named Zoe taught him how to access this doorway and enter another universe. Willis further claimed that Zoe illustrated to him how our universe is an experimental simulation within his species' universe. And they built it to understand their own reality, which is also nestled inside a larger universe. And we're going like real Inception type style when we start thinking about this. But this is 1998, okay? We go through the article, and the article's talking about, Nick Bostrom's papers that talk about, the Matrix and the simulated universe, etc. And there is really nothing new in this article at all. This is a rehash. And of all the different things, talking about Elon Musk and his hot tub experience and the whole, we are a simulated reality. 1 in a billion that we're not in a simulated reality, okay? There's a couple little things that jumped out though. One here is talking about one specific study. In recent years, other scientists have conducted research and even experimentation in attempts to show actual evidence of this simulation. Heads turned last year when theoretical physicist James Gate announced that he found strange computer code in his string theory research. And again, we covered this at the time. But this piece here, bound inside the equations we use to describe our universe, he says, is peculiar self-dual linear binary error-correcting block code. Now, the thing that jumped out for me is, first of all, is self-dual, linear, meaning what we experience is time in this reality, binary error-correcting. Error-correcting. Wait. That's really, really interesting. Error corrections. Because that first thought that comes to my mind is, of course, the Mandela effect. Is that the Mandela effect? if we're looking at literally a holographic simulation reality, this error correcting code, why all of a sudden we're seeing changes. Error correcting block code. Now, I found that also very interesting, because what's the one thing that we talk about block code, which is everywhere at the moment, is the discussion about blockchain, what it is, and why it's suddenly taken the world by storm. Everything is about blockchain. Yeah, very interesting. With news that there are 2 anonymous tech billionaires working on a secret project to break us out of the matrix, it's hard to know whether we should laugh or scream in horror. Okay, what was the title of the entire article? Tech billionaires funding a plan to break the human race out of the matrix. Only mention of that, 1 sentence. Oh, there's a precedence for this, and we'll get back to this in a second. Now, the thing is this is zero hedge. Zero hedge is what could be loosely termed as alternative media, not really, but alternative media, financial. It's a financial, the vast majority of the stuff that they do is highly focused on financial and global economics. Why are they running this article? Well, it's not the first time, right? Back in October of 2016, which is when we were discussing this the first time, tech billionaires convinced we live in a matrix are secretly funding scientists to help break us out of it. Almost word for word the same title. This is from The Independent in October 2016. Oh, here we are. Business Insider. Tech billionaires asking for scientists to break us out of the computer simulation. Business Insider? Again, a financial paper. Forbes. Again, we're not talking about an entertainment paper or even a scientific paper. It's Forbes. Okay? Mainstream media, again, here we go. CNBC talking about it as well. All of this is in October. Well, where this all stemmed from was an article in The New Yorker. Now, what is interesting, again, Sam Altman's Manifest Destiny. It's all about some Silicon Valley guy and his life story and yada, yada, and yada, yada, and a little more yada, yada. The article is fucking long. I mean, like snooze fest long. And I forced myself, knowing what was buried in this article, I read the entire thing. And if you're into Silicon Valley and the startups and all this type of stuff, there is some interesting stuff in here. Kind of interesting to read. But you got to go, bear with me as we scroll, down, down, down. Oh my God, finally. Like almost 4/5 of the way through the article. 1 sentence. Many people in Silicon Valley have become obsessed with the simulation hypothesis. The argument that what we are experiencing as reality is in fact fabricated in a computer. 2 tech billionaires have gone so far as to secretly engage scientists to work on breaking us out of this simulation. That's it. That's it for the entire article. 1 sentence. And yet everyone went poof and jumped on it. So I ask again. Timing. Why was this article in Zero Hedge yesterday? There is nothing new in that article other than, like I said, that little bit of information, that 1 sentence of little bit of information about error correcting and block code. It just so happens that earlier on, a couple of weeks ago, and I actually did mention it in one of the Transpicuous Views shows, I mentioned the fact that there was some interesting articles had come out, and I was going to do something on it, and time got away from me. I never really got back to it. And then this came up, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to talk about the tie-in on this. So the first thing is I want to talk about a company called Magic Leap. Now, Magic Leap, and I'm going to there's 2 videos here. I'm not going to actually show them to you because they're not going to buffer well. One of them's 4 minutes long, but I will embed them in the article that will go with this recording. Well worth watching. Very, very much well worth watching. Now, you guys will probably all remember, now this is April of 2016, you guys will probably all remember this video that came up, and oh, look at this. This is saying this one here was published in June 17th, 2016. Okay, so 2016 as well. I thought this was a little older than that. And I'm going to show you this one little clip because I'm sure you've all seen this. It went all over social media, okay? The whale in the school gymnasium and the splashes and the kids, oh, wow. So, again, it was a conversation that came up. And Nick said to me, my husband said to me, do you remember that whale video? Because we're talking about artificial realities, etc. So, Mendes, just go take a little look. So I went looking. But it's interesting when you start looking at this stuff because we have an article here. And again, really, really interesting. The article itself is in Wired, and it's the untold story of Magic Leap, the world's most secretive startup. And it's very, very long and well worth reading every word because there's a lot of pieces in this that just jump out at you. So I'm going to scroll through this, and I'm just going to give you a few of the little bits and pieces. So these guys deal with augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality. That's what this company does. Magic Leap is not the only company creating mixed reality technology, but right now the quality of its virtual visions exceeds all others. Because of this lead, money is pouring into this Florida office park. Google was one of the first to invest. Google, of course. Others followed. In the past year, executives from most major media and tech companies have made a pilgrimage to Magic Leap's office park to experience for themselves this futuristic synthetic reality. At the beginning of this year, the company completed what may have been the largest C round of financing in history to the tune of $793 million. To date, investors have funneled $1.4 billion into this company. $1.4 billion. That astounding sum is especially noteworthy because Magic Leap has not even released a beta version of its product, not even to the developers. Aside from potential investors and advisors, few people have been allowed to see the gear in action, and the combination of funding and mystery has fueled rampant curiosity. So we have a company that specializes in virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, who is being funded by all the big dudes, all of them, to the tune of $1.4 billion, and they haven't even released a prototype product yet. They haven't even released the background information of even what a prototype product might even look like yet. And yet that's how much they've gotten in funding. Now, like I said, the article is really, really long. This video here, which if you scroll down, I highly recommend watching this video. There's a lot of interesting information in it. I'm going to pull down here. It goes through. Sorry, guys. This is, like I said, a really, really long article. I'm scrolling. There we go. Like I said, just a few points that really jumped out for me. To function properly, VR and MR, virtual reality and mixed reality, must use biological circuits as well as silicone chips. The sense of presence you feel in these headsets is created not by the screen, but by your neurology. Artificial reality exploits peculiarities in our senses. It effectively hacks the human brain in dozens of ways to create what can be called a chain of persuasion. And they go into all the details and talk about, how you may be walking upstairs, but they make it feel like you're walking downstairs, or vice versa, or that you think you're walking in a straight line when in actual fact you're walking in a circle. Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Now, bear with me as we scroll down. I also found that the transition back, so this guy's talking about his experience of having going through this, and this guy has done multiple. He's basically tested out every virtual reality toy, game, experience that is available. And he's talking about what it's like to experiencing these. And he says, I also found that the transition back to the real world while removing the Magic Leap's optics was effortless, as comfortable as slipping off sunglasses, which I also did not experience in other systems. It felt natural. There's a piece here. I'm going to get to it. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I had no choice but to do it this way. Here we go. So they're talking about where this is going to go in the future. Where can they go into the future with this? Very soon, perhaps in 5 years, the bounded worlds within virtual reality will begin to be networked together into distributed virtual worlds. When you're wearing the visor of an augmented or mixed reality system such as Magic Leap, HoloLens, or Meta, it maps the local environment. Goes on to talk about this. The scale of the servers, and talking about the computers, what would take to drive something like this. The scale of the servers, bandwidth, processing, storage, and cleverness required to run a network of virtual places at the scale of the planet of billions of people is beyond big data. It is ginormous data. Billions of people? Or maybe not billions of people. We have talked about for a long time the theory of backdrop people, of the bots. What if you're not talking about billions of people? What if you're talking maybe a million? Maybe it's less. Interesting. Hold on to this though, which raises another issue. One of the underappreciated aspects of synthetic reality is that every virtual world is potentially a total surveillance state. By definition, everything inside VR or MR world is tracked. After all, the more precisely and comprehensively your body and behavior are tracked, the better your experiences will be. Anyone else find that kind of interesting? Okay. As far as I can tell, there are no VR systems that currently store the data they track or do anything with it beyond the first order job of creating your world in your avatar. While they're aware of this potential, they're simply too consumed with getting the virtual worlds to work to bother with exploiting the data feed. Inevitably, however, some will graduate to view this immense trove of personalized data as a commercial treasure. The familiar puzzles of its legal status, who has access to it, what government claims apply, and what can be done with it will occupy us as a society in the near future. It's very easy to imagine a company that succeeds in dominating the VR universe, quickly stockpiling intimate data, not on just what you and 3 billion other people favorite, but what you do on weekends, what you pay attention to, what scares you, where you go when you're tired, how you greet strangers, whether you're depressed, and 1,000 other details. That should be ringing quite a few bells for a lot of people watching this right now. Here's the last bit that is quite interesting. I nearly fell in a recent VR journey because I tried to jump into a pit that wasn't really there. Oculus weirdly warns its users to remain seated at all times. The problem is, if you're present, really present, in an alternative place, you're absent from the place where your body is. And then there is the ignorance of the long-term effects of fooling your mind and body. This is so new, we don't even know what questions to ask. We do know that motion sickness is real. Jeremy Bailenson found approximately 1 in 30 are susceptible to motion sickness. But what are other problems that will arise after tens of thousands of hours of use? Oh, the questions I have. Oh, the thoughts and where my mind immediately goes in looking at this information. Because this is the kind of thing that we have been talking about for years now. The police state that monitors your every move, where no piece of data is ever deleted. Even if they pretend it's deleted, it's never deleted. How they track you everywhere you go, everything you do, everything you like, you don't like, how you react to everything around you. I'm telling you, this is some really, really interesting stuff. Now, I highly recommend reading this entire article. And in finality, ready? It's too early to know what virtual reality is or what it will be. Above it believes that synthetic reality is the ultimate human medium because it is so directly wired to our brains. Our brains is an amazing sensory computer. Let's hypothesize for a second. Let's just hypothesize for a second. And we've done this. Over the last few years, we've done this multiple times, and we've looked at all of these theories. They don't know what the long-term ramifications will be for being hooked up to these systems for hours upon hours upon hours. Now, there was the movie, I think it's called Inception, but the dream within the dream within the dream. And what happens? People get addicted to the dream, and they decide not to leave. And they stay within that dream world. So what if, play the what if game, what if this is a simulation that we're in right now? And what if we entered into this simulation to, well, we've seen, it's been hypothesized across the board. They've sent people back from the future because they've got a problem in this future and we have to come back here and fix it. Or they've created a simulation so that they could run various simulations to figure out how to fix a problem in the future. Or maybe it was created solely for fun. Maybe it was created as like the biggest game park ever that you could go in, and maybe you could go anywhere you wanted. You could pick, I want to go back to like ancient Roman times, and I want to go back to Egypt or Atlantis, Nuria. I want to experience the Aztec culture. I want to experience the Ming Dynasty of China. And maybe you could pick and choose and go back and forth and back and forth and go through all these different things. What if that's what we call reincarnation? What if all those past life regressions and memories that people have experienced have nothing to do with you're born, you live, you die, you're born, you live, you die, and you're being rinsed and repeated through the cycle over and over again? What if it was merely the choices that we made to go and experience these things, like a video game? And each one is just a made-up construct. Goodness knows, when you start looking at history, and especially our lovely twisted history that we have now, I have a lot of questions, and I know you guys too. Stuff doesn't make sense. There's whole sections of history that just don't flow together. That random things happen that disappears and that disappears, and We are now know that our history, chronologically speaking, is completely fucked. And it is all a fucking lie. But what if it actually is a lie? I mean, in the grandest form of a lie. What if our history is nothing more than a story sequence that was played out in a game? And when you have those dreams of being back in ancient Roman times, because you were there and you went through that simulated reality and played that game. What if, in doing this, we became so addicted? No, not addicted. So immersed in these realities that we weren't able to come back out, that we lost the memory of what out there is. We lost ourselves, our true selves, within the game. And that's the long-term effect, that maybe they didn't really know was going to happen. That you would get so caught up within the game that your true self forgets that it's all just a fucking game. I don't know. It's just a theory. I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys, because this has been rattling around in my head now, on and off, for a couple of years. And when little pieces like this come up, why? Why now? Why now? And the glitches in the reality, the glitches in the matrix, are they the poking and prodding of the system to try and get us to snap out of it? Things like the Mandela effect, things like all of this crazy, insane shit. Do they push it so that it becomes so fucking insane? The computer programmers sitting out there somewhere else going, okay, the only way we're going to get these guys to wake up is to shock them, to make it so bad, to shock their system so much so that they will literally go, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is not my fucking reality. I'm just going to leave that with you. There's my question. That's my weekend work. There's my weekend questions. If you guys want to go down that rabbit hole and take a look at this, I highly recommend reading the Wired article. It's exceptionally good. Lots of little pieces hidden in there. And I'll put the videos for that, like the whale video, et cetera, I'll put those down below in the article as well. Yeah, guys, interesting shit. Have a good weekend. Bye.